As a viewer on the other side of the world, can feel the vibe. Euros just hit different.
I mean, America was crazy because of their fans, but when you come to a European one, Motocross of Nations, the whole fans come out, fancy dress, costume, the Irish are dressed up as leprechauns.
I met a gypsy.
I feel like Americans definitely, they expect to win basically everything that they go in, and it's one of the things that makes America so rad in its own sense, but it's crazy to see them as almost the underdogs too, that's really cool. And I guess they're defending champions now, so they're like, would be that expectation to win, but it's like gone are the days of two countries that it's going to be between, and now it feels super wide open. And I think that the sport's definitely like fragmented in the sense that you've got a Supercross season, you've got MXGPs, and then you've got AMA, motocross, and some other championships around. But Motocross of Nations does really bring everyone together, and it feels like it elevates the sport on a whole too. You know, I think that's like one weekend where you really get to see like the best of what we do collectively.
Again, I couldn't agree more. You've got the best. See, we look at America with Supercross and outdoor, and from the outside looking in for many years when they were dominant, 13 years straight, and then they sort of didn't win for a few years, and then it was like another 6 or 7, and then that streak kind of ended until they won at home last year, in Redbud. But when you've got the best riders, the best 3 riders from each country, I think what people forget about the nations is you've got 3 very strong guys. There's depth in America, indoors and outdoors. So they've almost got like too good a bunch of riders to choose from. So when they do come and they don't win, then I don't know who's more disappointed or deflated. But when they do, it's almost like
they're supposed to win.
They're supposed to win, and that was right for those years where they had those big streaks. Two separate streaks totaling 20 victories. And then when you look at Italy, you go, oh yeah, Cairoli. But in the past, maybe he didn't have, one rider was maybe a bit weaker. And then you go to France until they started their domination in, for those 4 or 5 years with Paulin from 14. There was always 1 or 2 good riders, never 3, or they were, but they were just inconsistent, Whereas America always seemed to have that
three gnarly dudes.
And the key to winning the nations is that last race, having 2 good guys that can pull together, and we saw that in Redbud last year with Chase and Eli. But to have the best 3 per country, I think with it being an ERNA, I think people will want to, whether you're American, whether you're European, I think you'll definitely want to put your hand up and say, yeah, definitely want to go there. Australia, of course, the Lawrence boys, and who else? They're doing all right. You've got Mitch, you've got Jed. I'm sure there are other guys out there as well that step up, and they got on the podium last year. How far away are they from winning it for the first time ever?
Yeah, and I think too what you're really seeing as well now is that I think Motocross of Nations sometimes with like America and Australia, it has these like peaks and valleys of like how bad the guys actually want it. And I feel like nowadays, I mean, especially like talking to guys on the podcast, anytime Nations comes up, like whether it's Barsha, whether it's Cooper, whether it's Anderson, whether it's Plessinger. So it's like, even if the top dudes don't want to go in America now, it's just, I feel like there's been so many guys over the last few years that have represented the US that there's like, because I'm sure as a rider it sticks with you, like either a good performance or a bad performance would affect you in some way. So you either want to feel that victory again, or you want redemption over, a failed result, essentially. So I think that too now we're just seeing so many guys that just want it badly for the right reason.
Yeah, and when you think of America's first streak, when they got to sort of 6 or 7 wins, and we're talking sort of 80, well, yeah, maybe even 7 or 8 wins, at some point people were, even the American sort of riders, thinking, man, this is too good to be true. And then how far down the line of those streaks were they getting like, I don't want to be the guy that kind of
loses this thing.
And that was it, And then obviously when they lost in '94, that was the thing that even when you speak to Emig, it was like, man, or read reports about it. It was like, they didn't want to be the team that lost, and then to leave there and have that feeling after so much success. So it's tough, but there can only be one winner. I know it's a cliche, but that's the case. As good as all these riders are on both sides of the Atlantic, there will be disappointment. Australia, they went in as favourites last year as well with the two brothers and Mitch. Potential outsiders.
That's a good team though.
Outsiders, not really. Not really, and so they over deliver? Not really, I think they were pretty much about where a podium was probably expected, and they delivered on that. So that says how far, again, Australia, look at the riders they've had over the years representing that didn't make podiums, and just one podium.
It's unbelievable. Like, it's actually unbelievable that we have not had better results.
But this shows the nature of that event as well, how much
100%.
luck you need, how much consistency you need, and it's never guaranteed. So even if, like I said, go back to that winning thing of Team USA, all the dominant years they had. Yeah, maybe on the outside, everybody expected it. Maybe the rest of the world was defeated before they even showed up. It's like, dude, look what they got on the team this year, and then they would go and win it and just bang another nail in the coffin. But then when they had that first loss, it was a few years before they sort of, or a couple of years, I think it was 95, Belgium won, 96 won again in Jerez. And then maybe there was a couple, and then, sort of all of a sudden it was like Belgium a few times. And then everybody else kind of got in on the act, There was one in Saint-Jean when Ricky won in 2001 with Pastrana and Ryan Hughes. And they had another streak going until sort of Saint-Jean again, incidentally, when Australia got on the podium. And then when it sort of like hit 2012, that's kind of when they, all right, we'll send our best team, and then another team and another team. And for whatever reason, whether it was deep sand in Lommel, whether it was Tomac crashing out in Germany when he was chasing Roxon, whether it was Latvia, I think Eli had a bad start in the last race and had to fight from the back. There were just, or France outrode them in France, Ernay on home soil. Cooper Webb was brilliant. So too was Justin Barsha. But they just weren't able to beat France that day,
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.